Don't stop feasting on the flavor of urban conservative talk. Go to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. There you can Facebook us, tweet us through Twitter, download our podcast and our mobile app. Listen, take us wherever you go. Welcome to the best in urban conservative talk, live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show with your host, Ken McClinton.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, in Spanish, we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your Pledge of Allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will memorize. I'll see you later.
And I will see you now. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the most influential conservative show in urban America. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Exceptional One, Ken McClinton. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism. What is the power of liberation? First to the Republicans, then to the Democrats. Glad to have you here tonight. Mary, my bouncer, is in the chat room this evening. I am very confident by that. Mrs. Biggs is getting some needed rest at this particular juncture. She may listen a little bit later on, but we'll see. You'll see. Professor, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate you and your encouragement. I got your message. I look forward to seeing you here in D.C. On Saturday. I need to go ahead and make these remarks and get them out of the way so that we can get back to a sense of normalcy, at least for a portion of the week. Yes, last night I learned after Mayor Muriel Bowser visited my home that the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department had identified the case regarding the murder of my daughter, Shanice Milton, as a cold case. And frustrated as I was blessed by God that we had a very special guest who did not lament on coming in or being a part of the show, although contacted at a very late hour, Dr. Sarah Stein. And she was absolutely wonderful, Dr. Sarah Stein, talking about the fact that we have over 200,000 unresolved homicides in America to date. There's some 20 to 30 in the District of Columbia alone right now. And we spent all of yesterday's show talking about unresolved murders. Not just my baby, but all of those in the District of Columbia. And it took up nearly 1 hour to talk about all the ones in the District of Columbia. That's telling you something. in terms of the largesse of black-on-black crime and other histrionic or all that hysteria going on. So I want to thank Agador also for calling in and listening to tonight's show. I really appreciate it, Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah gave me hope. She did. And you know I spent the whole night plugging CRUC. And so I decided to take my own advice. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I decided to take my own advice. Since the D.C. police have determined that it is a cold case, and remember, I have nothing against the D.C. police. I have nothing against the inspectors or the detectives that are doing this particular case. It is tough. I do have a problem with people like Mike Lupica and Dr. Julianne Malveaux who want you to focus on the bullet and want you to focus on the gun. I want you to focus on the food. The liberals don't want to do that. That's taking a number of my voters away by doing that. But she gave me hope last night. And so I got this letter from her this morning, which really, really encouraged me. She said, "Hello, Ken. Your daughter is absolutely beautiful. You can tell she is an old soul. I would very much like to help you in bringing her killers to justice." And she gave me some other information, but I'm just going to let you know. When the dust settles, I will be getting in contact with Sarah and her team. And I assure you that my daughter's case would not go unresolved. Dr. Sarah Stein is a member of the Center for the Resolution of Unresolved Crime. And I want you to know, without a shadow of a doubt, she will be called upon in the coming days to help me resolve this. And by that example, we will show what needs to be done in urban America. No longer will you be dependent on the police, which are virtually responsible for writing the reports of your murders. They're executives, they're investigators or detectives, which are overtaxed with the number of murders in the area. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to take back urban America. I'm not waiting for the GOP to do it. I'm not waiting for cowardly pulpit persona to do it. I'm going to do it. You're going to do it. We're going to do it. When we do it, we're going to change the world. I want to thank also Ralph Chittum, who is doing a miraculous work in our community now. In fact, in 22 minutes, he will be in the area where Shanice was killed, along with dozens of other men from the Washington metropolitan area, handing out flyers, asking questions, finding out who did what, where, when, what, where, and how. What did you hear? They're going to be doing the tough work. And I just want to tell Ralph, I really appreciate everything that you've done for my family and for our community. Ralph Chittum will also be a pallbearer on Saturday. So I'm ever, ever thankful. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a big story in America, one that they hope that you close your ears to, and as well your eyes. When we come back, we will be talking with Andy Martin. And Andy Martin is the gentleman who broke the story on Dennis Hastert. There is a lot to learn, and we will learn it all in just a few. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Washington, D.C. We will be back in just a moment. The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
In September 2012, American pastor Saeed Abedini was arrested while building orphanages in Iran. Since then, he has been sentenced to 8 years in one of Iran's toughest prisons. His charges? Sharing his Christian faith in homes across Iran. Help us share his story. Sign a petition at SaveSaeed.org. Help us reach 300,000 signatures to present to the UN and the Council of Europe Commissioner of Human Rights. Your signature could save a life. Save Saeed. Sign our petition at SaveSaeed.org. Share this story with hashtag SaveSaeed.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying capitalists do it.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Socko as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, political power, liberation, first to the Republicans, then the Democrat. We are on live now with Andy Martin.
Hello.
Who broke the story. Good day, sir. How do you do?
Hi, how are you? Well, I'm continuing to follow this story because I think it has a lot of importance for understanding the way the media corrupt the public arena and corrupt politics by publishing and broadcasting lies. And, I mean, this whole thing about Dennis Hastert was well known in Illinois, and it was well known in Washington, D.C., and you've got all these politicians like Mark Kirk who are falsely claiming they're shocked and surprised, and media type saying, we never suspected it, and yet there's been a problem with Dennis Hastert as long as he was Speaker and probably before then. So what I've been doing is casting light on it, although I'm now living in New Hampshire. Of course, I've spent 50 years in Illinois politics fighting corruption, machine politics, whatever. So I knew all the players involved, and I'm absolutely stunned that the truth came out indirectly through this money laundering investigation.
Exactly. Now, Mr. Martin, you have a tremendous background in terms of fighting corruption in America. You, in terms of your biography, bottom line is that you've been a holder of the graduate degree from University of Illinois, Juris Doctorate, You also attended the University of Edinburgh, Scotland. You have been the People's Attorney General for over 44 years. You have been fighting the good fight. Most Americans who are listening tonight don't know anything about the Hastert situation beyond the fact that he may be in trouble, and what politician isn't in trouble? What is unique about the Dennis Hastert story? Can you give us a summation of that particular tale, or the summary of that?
Well, Mr. Hastert was elected Speaker of the House in, I believe, 1999. And he served as Speaker of the House till 2007. And around 2010, he began making large withdrawals from bank accounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. And eventually he came to the attention of federal authorities because of these very, very large cash withdrawals. And they opened an investigation, not of sexual abuse, but of money laundering, because there are laws on the books, federal laws, to prohibit money laundering. And one of the things these laws do is they control deposits over $10,000, or I think it's over $5,000 or $10,000 when you take cash with you on a trip outside the United States. And they're designed to regulate the movement of cash as a means of limiting money laundering. So through this money laundering investigation, they found out that Hastert was paying off someone, Individual A. He's not named yet, but we're working hard to find who Individual A is. We know he's out there in that Yorkville community area. And apparently he had some kind of sexual relationship with this young boy, or teenager. Now, what makes it inappropriate and probably unlawful is, first of all, the boy was probably a minor, and secondly, he may have been one of Hastert's students. I mean, the day is long past. The day is long past when consenting acts between adults generate any kind of interest anywhere, simply because the law is very clear that what adults do among themselves is pretty much up to them. But the law is also very clear that when teachers, in other words, public employees, interact with people under their care and supervision, all kinds of protections are still in place. And the right to privacy and the right to do what you want basically goes away in the interest of protecting children, whether it's a male teacher preying on females or, as in this case apparently, a male teacher preying on male students. So the media now have known for many, many years that Mr. Hastert ran a congressional office and a speaker's office that was basically saturated with homosexual employees. And it's nothing new. A colleague of mine, a blogger, 9 years ago, wrote an article, All the Speaker's Men, and he listed all the homosexuals that worked in Hastert's office. So there was never any doubt about what Hastert was up to or who he was up to it with, and that was why he trembled so much when the Mark Foley scandal was disclosed. And that was in 2006, and many blame Foley for helping defeat the Republican Party in 2006. Now, in 2010, I did not accuse Congressman Mark Kirk of being a homosexual. I only said there are tapes on the Internet in which somebody else accuses him of that. And, of course, the media, they just unleashed a firestorm of vitriol and abuse against me. Now, what happened was that I was only telling the truth, because I said, look, if you go to such and such a point on the Internet, there's a tape, and Jack Rosser, who's a multimillionaire conservative that has a radio show, has accused Kirk of this activity, and other people that were on the show have done likewise. But I was attacked because they didn't want to admit what everybody knew, that Mr. Kirk had a very checkered personal life and in all probability was a homosexual. Now, 5 months later, at the end of May, a fellow named Mike Rogers, who had made a practice, I guess you could say. He was a gay rights activist, and he made a practice of exposing, or as they call it, outing, closeted gay public officials, particularly closeted Republicans or closeted conservatives. And when Kirk voted a certain way on a certain law that Rogers didn't like, he came out and exposed everything. And, of course, he is a gay activist, only confirmed everything that I had pointed out 5 months earlier when I'd come under attack. So there's also a double standard here. When somebody who's not a gay activist exposes homosexuality, that's accepted or tolerated. When someone such as myself, who's in no way involved in that kind of behavior, does the same thing, well, yeah, I become a target. Now, what's interesting is that Kirk used to hang around Hastert's office along with Mark Foley and along with the young pages that they were trying to seduce, as well as the staff members that were actively gay. So he comes out last week and says he's shocked and surprised by the Hastert situation. Well, Kirk was lying through his teeth, and this guy is running for re-election. So he is vulnerable to blowback and feedback from this lying and hypocrisy, and I intend to hold Kirk accountable for his role in the Hastert scandal.
We're talking tonight with Andy Martin, the gentleman who blew the top off of the Dennis Hastert fiasco. The attempt by Dennis Hastert to hide, sending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and actually the tune is over $1 million.
So I think it's $1.7 million. It's $1.7 million at this point.
Yeah, to a individual A. Now this is a tantalizing part for us in Washington, and for those soap opera watchers of America. Individual A is noted as the party who receives the money. Gotta ask you, how do we know that individual A is, firstly, a male, and then secondly, was sexually molested in his youth by Dennis Hastert?
Well, we don't know who individual A is. He has not been identified. But when you're reading an indictment, normally the first thing that would come out in the indictment is the indictment would explain why the money was being paid. In this case, the indictment essentially alleges that there was an extortion scheme and that individual A went to Hastert and demanded money, or else he would blow the whistle on Hastert and expose him. Now, and Hastert in return agreed to pay $3.5 million, and at the time when the federal government moved in, he had already paid $1.7 million of the extortion booty. Now, the answer is that to 100% degree of certainty, we don't know who individual A is. But as in any other area of life, you can make an informed and educated guess.
Yeah.
And I suspect that if he had been accused of molesting a female student, it would have been mentioned. You know, this was a very bizarre indictment. In fact, the night that the indictment was announced, all the liberal cable channels, the Rachel Maddows and the Chris Matthews and CNN, particularly not to mention the conservative channels, were saying, well, what is it this and who is this and what's going on and whatever. Well, this was the case of political correctness. Now, you can be sure, you can bet tomorrow's pay packet on the fact that an indictment of a former Speaker of the House wasn't prosecuted without being approved at the highest level of the Department of Justice. And
yeah,
I'm sure the Deputy Attorney General or the Associate Deputy Principal Deputy Attorney General said, who's the guy? What's going on here? That's the first question you would ask. What was going on here? It's just common sense. You don't have to be a lawyer to say, well, what was he being extorted for? And obviously, the prosecutor said, well, it was a boy, and maybe he was on the wrestling team, and so on and so forth. So they approved it, but they said keep the facts out of the indictment. That's why it was sort of a weird indictment. It was a politically correct indictment because it didn't even tell you why the money was being paid or what the wrong thing that had been done was. And I can't tell you to 100% degree of certainty who individual A is. We're out there looking. But I can darn sure tell you we're looking for a man. We're not looking for a woman.
Bingo. There we go. And this is also news tonight, just 1 hour ago. The Chicago Tribune says that though the indictment didn't detail the relationship or Hastert's alleged wrongdoing, several law enforcement sources said Hastert was paying off a man to conceal sexual abuse from the time Hastert taught and coached at Yorkville High School.
Well, isn't it interesting that I held a news conference today at 4:30 and challenged the media for lying and covering up and pretending they don't know and playing possum, and within hours, quote, law enforcement sources opened up. You see, right from the start, my investigative reporting and investigative column writing has been driving this whole story.
Now, one of the things that I also want to do, because this is your first appearance on the Exceptional Conservative Show, I'm honored by your appearance. I've been watching what you've been doing for years, and you've been a hard driving force in bringing out corruption across the country on various matters. But this is important because this is Illinois. And because Illinois, we're talking about a deviant webbing of politicians and fat cats who for years have taken advantage of a media that likes to look the other way for purposes of having access to power. So I want to ask you, sir, within a year, in a time period where you have Bruce Jenner becoming Dave Jr. or Caitlyn or whatever whatever the crazy crap he wants to do, why would this man want to cover up the fact that he molested a child? I mean, wouldn't he be able to get away with it now? I mean, it's past time for any concern about it regarding statutes of limitations, right?
Right. The statute of limitations has run. I think it was more a matter of his sort of self-image and personal dignity. I mean, at the end of the day, it's sleazy. He's not being exposed for being gay. If it was only a gay relationship, nobody would care. If he had met some guy, whatever. And note that although he had many homosexual employees, nobody is focusing on them because they were, in many cases, completely open and out about their private life. Number one. Number two, the general principle that I adhere to is a person's private life is his private life or her private life. It's only when you become a public official and you become subject to blackmail that personal conduct and private conduct becomes of any concern to the public. Now, number three, in this case, it was a student-teacher relationship. Well, you know, we get these teachers having sex with student cases all the time. Usually it's men with female students. Occasionally it's female teachers with male students. The male, I think, or the female are much less frequent as far as I know, and that's only anecdotal from reading the paper. So he obviously thought this would be very embarrassing. And, you know, he had the money to buy silence.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a free market conservative. If somebody came to you and said to you, look, is it worth $100,000 for me to cover up that you and I robbed the bank 20 years ago? You can't be prosecuted, but it wouldn't look good. You'd have to judge whether you wanted to be extorted or not. And again, Hastert is not being prosecuted for having sex with a student. As you pointed out, the statute of limitations has long since expired on that. He's being prosecuted because in response to a blackmail attempt, he agreed to be blackmailed, and he paid all this money, and he drew it out of the bank illegally.
Now, and we're talking tonight with Andy Martin, and we're going to try to have him on more often. I like the work that he does. He's bringing out corruption around the country, especially Illinois.
Let me give you an idea of my background. This year is 2015. It is 50 years since I went to Capitol Hill in the summer of 1965, and 50 years since I went to work as an intern at the Illinois General Assembly in 1965. Now, then and now, legislators had what they call Springfield wives. They would go from Southern Illinois or Western or Northern or Chicago or whatever to Springfield, and they had women that they kept up there as, quote, Springfield wives. When I started in politics, it was mostly male-female. Of course, over the years, these things started to change. But sex has always been a part of politics. But it's not always a part of teacher-student relationships, and that's what made this sleazy. And that's why Hastert felt it would damage him irreparably if the truth came out.
Now, in terms of the webbing here, because we will stay tuned with you for the big story that you're going to break on the 11th of June, 2015. You have a big press conference prepared for that, but I want to go with the webbing here. You got Mark Kirk, who has been accused of homosexual relationships, which could incite blackmail. But you also have the President of the United States who was accused of having homosexual relationships. Is this somewhat...
There's a difference. There's a difference. I've heard the Obama is gay stories for many years, and I've never written about them, and there's a reason. Because the evidence is all testimonial. It's not documentary. And because the people who wanted to make this testimony had checkered paths as to their veracity. And so while I've heard about this and Rahm Emanuel also, and all kinds of stories about them, I've never written about it, perhaps unless to say that it's out there, but I don't know anything about it. And frankly, there was one guy that badgered me 8 years ago to write about this story, and I said, I'm very sorry, but there's no evidence. Now, in the Mark Kirk case, we had people that knew Kirk, his constituents, that were saying that. And furthermore, I never said that Kirk was homosexual in 2010. I merely said other people have said it, and it's on the internet. How can you ignore it? See, what politics has to be about is telling the truth to voters. If you're living a lie and you're trying to pretend you're some kind of conservative, and then you want to get votes from Republicans, that's dishonest. That's vote stealing. It's vote fraud. Now, one of the ideas behind the movement societally, and I'm talking about whether people agree with it or don't agree with it, the idea of same-sex marriage was that people would come out of the shadows and they could live normally. And, you know, there are a lot of issues there about benefits and access to hospitals and all that I agree with, frankly. But if you have an open environment where sexuality and personal morality is no longer a problem, then people ought to be honest about it, and then they can't be blackmailed. Now, Kirk, of course, has checked into hospitals under assumed names. He's a very sleazy character. He was also caught. I exposed him lying about his military record. What happened? The Chicago media squashed me. They squashed the truth. They published lies about Kirk being some kind of John Wayne hero. 6 months later, Kirk was exposed by the Washington Post using my research, ironically, as a military fraud who had awarded himself imaginary medals and who had done all. But then it was too late for Republican voters to vote in the primary because the corrupt Chicago media had locked the primary down with lies. And they're trying to do it again. All these Republicans are supporting Kirk. They know who he is, and they know what he is at this point.
Is it too late? Is it too late for the people of Illinois to consider an alternative candidate to Kirk, who is a conservative, who doesn't have all of this baggage?
Well, you're getting pretty close to June 11th, my friend, or you're getting awfully close to what I'll be talking about on June 11th.
I will not broach that because I want you back right around that time. I want to talk with you about this. This is a very
I have two goals in the 2016 election.
Okay.
Number one, I want to defeat Mark Kirk for re-election.
Amen.
And by the way, his campaign is going to be focused on sliming an authentic American hero. Whether you like the congresswoman who is likely to win the Democratic nomination or not, she lost her legs in Iraq in combat. She's a real hero. She suffered. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like. I've been in helicopter attacks and been shot at, but I've never been hit. But she lost part of her body in battle. She's a real hero, and Kirk is going to go out and slime her, although he's a phony hero. He goes around wearing VFW and American Legion jackets, and he's a disgrace to the uniform. But he has one thing that keeps him going. He is utterly shameless. And I guess in some sense, Denny Hastert was too. He was running this homosexual salon in the Speaker's office, and yet he condemned Mark Foley when Foley got caught as though Denny Hastert was a paragon of morality when he knew he was living a secret life.
Oh my God.
Now I will say this about Caitlyn Jenner or Bruce Jenner. I'll respect whatever she wants, whatever name she wants to use. If Bruce Jenner was living a lie, as he says in Vanity Fair, he never hurt anybody else, and as far as we know, he never lied to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Kirk was living a lie and lying to primary voters about who he is and what he is, and basically stealing their votes, and the media to control the Republican Party are conspirators in this. It's despicable. And that's why ordinary Americans have nothing but contempt for the so-called media and don't believe them. If you wonder why the Internet is growing by leaps and bounds, is because at least there, very often the truth percolates to the top. If it hadn't been for me, you see, what happens is my news releases, as you know, circulate all around the country, all around Illinois, or all around the world. And the reporters go to their editors and say, Andy Martin has the story and we can't write about it. Well, let's attribute it to unnamed federal officials. But the same day that I'm laying out the whole story of Dennis Hastert, the Tribune, quote, has federal officials telling him what it's about. So, I'm the one that's forcing the media to tell the truth. And I did it in 2010 with Kirk, and I'm doing it in 2015 with Hastert.
You're doing a great job. I want to ask you, what's your second goal for the 2016 election?
I want to defeat Jeb Bush for the Republican presidential nomination. I do not like Jeb Bush. He's a classic phony. I know the real Bush, and I'm going to be going after him, and I'm going to tear him to pieces as the campaign goes along.
Well, Jeb Bush is a nice guy. He believes in Common Core.
Common Core, sure.
He believes that we should open our borders because it shows love. Why?
Yeah. Next time I'm going to go in and rob a bank and say I did it because I love my family. They deserve to ride. They deserve to ride in a BMW instead of a Chevrolet.
Exactly. That's the par for the course. I want to go back to just real quick because I want to lose time with you, and I want you to tell everybody where they can read your stuff and be prepared for the big announcement on June 11th. But does this have fingers that can crawl to other areas and other persons? And is the Federal Bureau of Investigation acting outside of the will of the Obama Justice Department in this regard?
By the way, while we're talking, Rachel Maddow has up on the screen, on TV screen, House colleague knew that Hastert had involved sex with a boy. There again, Why is all this coming out after my news conference?
And why are you not saying Andy?
I don't know if you're on our direct list or not, but you saw the story today, this morning, and all of a sudden there's a cascade of new stories and information backing up everything I said.
Is Dennis Hastert blackballed virtually, and everything's now going to come swimming downstream about him?
Yeah. See, what happens is, and this is the power of the internet. You know, some people sometimes kid me, though, you call yourself the internet powerhouse, you're full of crap. I say no, because it's not that I'm going to overtake the New York Times in readership or the Washington Post, and I read both of them every day. It's that I force them to tell the truth.
Yes.
Because they know once I've got it out there that it will circulate exponentially through people taking it, forwarding it, posting it on websites. And here it is. I'm having a conference this afternoon, and within hours, there's a whole flowering of stories about colleagues in the House that knew about it, about so-called law enforcement sources telling the story now unofficially that it's a boy. Why is it that I've been saying this for days?
And here's the other
that's why I legitimately call myself the internet powerhouse, because I power over the media and force them to tell the truth by ridiculing them and embarrassing them and beating them at their own game. House colleague knew of alleged sexual abuse by Hastert. Report. And that's the headline right now on the TV screen of Rachel Maddow.
So, and Dave Milner in our chat room has it here that basically Dennis Hastert is a pedophile.
And guess what? Guess who's writing the story about the house guy knowing who knew about Hastert having molested the boy? You know who knew? Sam Stein. Well, Sam Stein is on my mailing list.
Wow.
See, Sam Stein gets my email, and he says, now he goes to somebody who may not want to talk and says, wait a minute, Andy Martin's put the whole story out here. Now I need your help to verify it.
Listen, sir, how can people read your stuff and be prepared for the 11th of June big announcement?
Well, if you send an email to AndyMart20, ANDYMART20 at AOL.com, we can add you to our list. We're at ContrarianCommentary.com, CONTRARIAN commentary, COMMENTARY.com. And contrariancommentary.wordpress.com. But we don't always update the stories right away. I haven't updated today's email and posted it to the website yet. But guess what? Guess who they're saying was linked to this story? Mel Watt, who's an African-American from North Carolina.
There you go, exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. And that's why I was asking you if this story had fingers, because if they blackball Dennis Hastert, then they're blackballing a whole lot of other people, and they're going to come down. It's going to be very terrible for the next 72 hours about what they're throwing under the bus.
Yeah, now Watt, of course, is playing possum. He says he said it was an unseemly rumor, and he didn't know anything. But see, here is the family. Now, this may suggest to us that the victim was an African-American boy.
There you go. There you go.
Well, maybe that's why he was hiding it. I don't know. See, it adds another layer of scandal. Now,
exactly.
Do I have to educate you by saying interracial matters are always subject to a heightened level of taboo? Or who's on TV is Sam Stein. Of course, he's working off he just came on. But Sam Stein is working off my research, and now Mel Watt surfaces. But, the point is, each level of this brings it up another notch.
Let me make this point here. Mel Watt, member of the Congressional Black Caucus, if he is a member of the Congressional Black Caucus and knew, other members of the Congressional Black Caucus knew, and they were okay with Dennis Hastert being a pedophile. that tells you something about what's going on in Washington.
Well, what's interesting also is that if this was an African-American family and they didn't know where to turn, somebody knew Watts, apparently, whether it was a cousin or a parent or a relative. So now they go and seek out help, and the guy who's there to help closes the door in their face.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to stay tuned to the Exceptional Conservative Show. I want you to do me the greatest favor in the world for the next few days so that you get the information straight before it hits Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
Go to Andy Mart 20, ANDYMART 20 at AOL.com. The news that they're trying to obscure now, this man has always done research of it, is weeks ahead of them, and it's a big news announcement coming out on the 11th of June. We will have Andy Mart back to talk about that big announcement and to follow the webbing of the Dennis Hastert matter. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Mark.
Well, you see, here's the thing. You see the power of a single author who tells the truth. I don't have a big news organization. I don't have that. Every time you watch CBS News, they show people wandering around in the backdrop, or NBC or ABC. We don't have a big, but what I have is the power of the truth and the power of the pen. And right now you can just see how this whole thing is unfolding as I relentlessly drive out the truth. And other journalists are now taking it to a higher level. And tomorrow, when all this is, the Mel Watt thing is breaking this evening. But tomorrow it's going to be all over Washington. It will probably be on the front page of the Washington Post. And then you're going to see, whoo.
Yeah. And the big thing is the Congressional Black Caucus news. That's the next big, the fingers are beginning to stretch out. Andy, we will have you back on very soon.
You're welcome. Have a good one. Good night.
Next week. Good night. God bless. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We will have Andy back. I am telling you, this is huge, ladies and gentlemen. And look how things are beginning to disintegrate for those who wanted to hold power over us. You have liberals that wanted to tell you that gun control was a problem when it was really black on black crime. Now you have the Congressional Black Caucus hiding the fact that Dennis Hastert, a pedophile, it may be a black child, we don't know. Maybe. But if that breaks, baby, you heard it here first on the Exceptional Conservative Show through Andy Martin. And I'm telling you, you need to read Andy's stuff. He is well ahead of the game. We'll be back right after these messages.
Minute, I'm Dr. Brooks Robinson. Today we ask, what are the nation's deficit and debt? As you know, the U.S. government collects revenues from a variety of sources: personal income and business taxes, excise taxes on products such as gasoline, liquor, and cigarettes, and payroll taxes for Social Security programs. At the same time, the U.S. government takes on many expenses. For example, wages and salaries for government employees, expenditures to provide for the safety and security of the nation, and payments for social benefits. For any particular fiscal year, if the revenues that are collected are insufficient to cover the expenses incurred, then the U.S. government experiences a deficit. When one accumulates such deficits over time and accounts for payments that have been made to reduce the debt, then one arrives at the nation's existing debt level. The U.S. government can run deficits and incur higher levels of debt because it does not face a balanced budget requirement, a requirement that most state and local governments face. Remember, improving your understanding of economics helps you improve the quality of your life. With an Economic Minute, I'm Dr. Brooks Robinson.
Right. Gonna be a right swipe. This man has shaved his chest hair into a heart.
Oh.
Yes, don't mind. Right swipe.
Right swipe. That sounds like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. God, I want to eat their faces.
She's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
Must be some kind of show. If you think you're my type, put your gun in a cloud of smoke. I just left swipe, bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag perplexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. Hottie! I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of show. If you think you're my type, put your gun in a cloud of smoke. I just left swipe, bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it left.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10 to 2. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger?
Let's swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Let's swipe that. Smoking while acting healthy. Let's swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Let's swipe that. Smoking with a duck face. Let's swipe that.
At a monster truck race?
Let's swipe that. Smoking at the prom. Let's swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it left.
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
Hashtag. I'll never remember you.
Whether it's calling Nick on the hard tops of Washington, or lobbying missing in action congressmen at the Kennedy Center, or even escorting Nancy Pelosi to the John Boehner Establishment Party ball, no one, and I mean no one, knows the Constitution better than the Prince of Classical Liberal Talk, the underground professor, Dr. Michael E. Jones. His new schedule on Pundit Press Media and Blog Talk Radio, Sundays, 5 to 8 p.m. Central, and Tuesdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central. Take the thoughts of the founders and framers, the organic guiding documents of our founding, and what we have learned from history, and apply it to the current events of our lives, and there you have it, Freedom Studies 101. Listen, UGB Radio is your school for remedial conservative studies. Come and explore the depths and the values of a free society and limited government. Pundit Press Media, Blog Talk Radio, Sundays, 5 to 8 p.m. Central, Tuesdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Get it while it's hot. Listen, I am talking with Ann via private message, and you can do the very same thing if you come to the exceptionalconservatorshow.com, the SHR actual chat roll, and you can come in and you can talk with me during the commercial. And I'm telling you, Annie is a comedian. She looks all serious. She's all serious and reporting her. Annie is a comedian. I'm telling you right now. We'll be back with more of the best, I assure you, in just a few.
Ladies and gentlemen, time for an unpleasant blind guy election fight. Anybody remember when Democrats were encouraged to vote in Republican primaries to help split the party and cause general chaos? So do I. In a completely unrelated story, excitement abounds as the most dynamic candidate for the Democratic nomination has hit the scene. Democrats clamor to support Vermin Supreme, a man who counters global warming deniers with science, parascience, and pseudoscience.
DNA gene splicing to create a race of winged monkeys to act as tooth fairies.
No longer satisfied with half-hearted candidates like Clinton, Warren, and O'Malley, progressives across America know that Vermin Supreme reflects their ideas as a true Democrat.
I'm a friendly fascist. I'm a tyrant that you should trust, and you should let me run your life, because I do know what is best for you. Yes, I'm a politician. I will promise you anything your little electorate heart desires, because you are my constituents. You are the informed voting public, and because I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make.
The buzz is in the air. Democratic primary voters know in 2016 it's Vermin Supreme. This has been an unpleasant blind guy election fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give you this fresh report. Mel Watt had been interviewed by Politico. This is the report. Clea Benson did the report, the actual reporting. Mel Watt, I heard unseemly rumor about Hastert. Watt, now head of the FHFA, says he had no direct knowledge of abuse, so took no action. Former Congressman Mel Watt acknowledged on Tuesday that years ago he had heard a rumor about misbehavior by Dennis Hastert, but that he had no direct knowledge about any specific behavior. The statement from Watt, who is now head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, came after the Huffington Post reported that Watt was likely aware that Hastert had allegedly molested a former male student. This is getting deep, people, I'm telling you. Over 15 years ago, I heard an unseemly rumor. And notice it's unseemly because it's no longer a rumor, even after submitting to it. I heard an unseemly rumor from someone who, contrary to what has been reported, was not an intermediary or advocate for the alleged victim's family. Watt said in an email statement, "It would not be the first nor last time that I, as a member of Congress, would hear rumors or innuendos about colleagues. I had no direct knowledge of any abuse by former Speaker Hastert and therefore took no action." If they take no action against each other, certainly they will take no action for you. We'll be back in the next few with more of the best on the most influential urban conservative talk show in America.
A hyphen, Webster's dictionary defines, is a symbol used to divide a compound word or a single word. So it seems to me that when a man calls himself an Afro-American, a Mexican-American, Italian-American, an Irish-American, Jewish-American, what he's saying is, I'm a divided American. Well, we all came from other places, different creeds, different races, to form a nation, to become as one. Yet look at the harm a line has done. A simple little line, and yet as divisive as a line can get. A crooked cross the Nazis flew, and the Russian hammer and sickle, too. time bombs in the lives of men. But none of these could ever fan the flames of hatred faster than the hyphen. The Russian hammer built a wall that locked men's hearts from freedom's call. The crooked cross flew overhead above 20 million tragic dead. Among them, men from this great nation who died for freedom's preservation. A hyphen is a line that's small. It can be a bridge or be a wall. A bridge can save you lots of time. A wall you always have to climb. The road to liberty lies true. A hyphen's use is up to you. Used as a bridge, it can span all the differences of man. Being free in mind and soul should be our most important goal. If you use a hyphen as a wall, you'll make your life mean and small. An American is a special breed whose people came to her in need. They came to her that they might find a world where they'd have peace of mind, where men are equal, and something more, stand taller than they stood before. So you be wise in your decision, and that little line won't cause division. Let's join hands with one another. For in this land, each man's your brother. United we stand, divided we fall. We're American, that says it all.
Don't stop feasting on the flavor of urban conservative talk. Go to theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. There you can Facebook us, tweet us through Twitter, download our podcast and our mobile app. Listen, take us wherever you go. Welcome to the best in urban conservative talk, live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show with your host, Ken McClinton.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital, where we are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first the Republican and then the Democrat. I want to thank Gay Allen State Farm Office for all of your love and your support through this. I want to tell you that my daughter was a great steward. She was. She worked hard enough as a reporter for Capital Community News. She would take as many stories as she could possibly write. She would do them with great excellence. She would take her money. She would tithe off of it. She would save off of it. She would pay her student loans. She would pay her life insurances, and then she would live off of whatever was left. And I'm going to tell you right now, that young woman is a great honor to me in her life and her death and in her resurrection. So I am very proud of her and very thankful for Gay Allen State Farm for being there and encouraging us along the way to do always the right things with our finances. Also want to thank Latney Funeral Home. I'm just doing these free promos. These people should pay me. Latney Funeral Home, Keith Ridley has done an exceptional job maintaining support and care for us while we're going through all of that. we're going through, making all the arrangements and things, and we really appreciate that. This is not my forte. I don't do this for a living. Maybe I should because I see the racket that it is. But nonetheless, if you're going to do it with someone like Keith Ridley at Latney Funeral Home in Washington, D.C. Also, I want to thank the good people at Lincoln Cemetery in Suitland, Maryland, where my daughter will be buried or interned near her grandmother. She will be buried actually under a tree, which I am just, it's a shame. I don't want to have to talk about this, but I think for those people who have never gone through this, I want to share my experience. You can take it for the grain of salt that it's worth, or maybe find another more exciting station to listen to. But actually going in there and having to pick a casket. Now, I've never done this. A casket to me is kind of like a nuclear bomb. I never had one, never played with one before, never used one before. I don't know. And they have all these models that you can pick from. They have the premium model, which are like the Ferrari version. And I just can't imagine someone spending that much money just to see it go underground. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. So we're looking, and they got hardwood, they got custom built, they got this and the other, and we're looking at that, and trying to make our decision or whatever. And then while we're on the showroom floor of the funeral home, yeah, if you don't laugh, you're gonna crack. I tell you. You're looking at different models there that they don't actually have them out for you to see, but that they will order from or whatever. And there are no prices next to it. There are no prices. So you have to take the word that the premium was really expensive versus whatever is offered you. And so we're looking at those and we're making our determination in terms of the no price offerings here. And so, of course, in no price offerings, you're caught up on emotion. And the one great thing about my wife and I is that we don't get emotional too often about things. I want to do it, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to do it as early after as you possibly can. Because then you're not as emotional, because the wear and tear on you for a whole week of having to minister to people who are trying to minister to you, I mean, it will wear you. So we're in there and we're looking at the different pictures and we see the pink. There is a pink, and there's a term for pink for the color or whatever. It has a rose on the pillow cushion above, on the door that you're going to use, the handle or whatever. And it looked very beautiful, and we wanted her to be buried in that. And very feminine, very pretty, very expensive. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have any life insurance companies that are, or funeral homes that are commercials on my station. You should be on my station if you want to be a funeral home or, dude, I am talking about, it was like $2,000 for each door. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing. It was as they're breaking the prices down to you. It's $6,000 for the casket, man. 6G. 6K, however way we say it today. $6,000 for the casket. And I'm thinking to myself, my baby didn't have a car. My car that I bought, my Saturn, cost $18,000, and it's probably only worth the $6,000. I could have buried my baby in the Saturn. You know, I'm just saying. It's beautiful and everything, and we like it. The wake is on Thursday, and the wake it will be at 6 p.m. We're encouraging all of the public to come out at that particular event. Again, that's from 6 to 9 at Living Word Church at 4101 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southwest. For more details on that, you can go to my Facebook page. I am not putting it on the Exceptional Conservative Show page. Ladies and gentlemen, just bear with me. There's some things that I don't want to test myself on. And that's it. I don't want to go to my page every day and see my my daughter. Just don't. So $6,000 for the casket. And flowers. Dude, you'd think we were winning the Kentucky Derby or something. I mean, quotes that were like $500 for flowers. Man, I could go out in my neighbor's yard and cut up his flowers. He won't know. We got that price down. We negotiated that bad boy. Dave Mills said Roman legions used to have half their pay kept by the government, partly for burial expenses. You need it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have life insurance, please get it. Please get it. Don't ask your church because they ain't got it. Gilding Fund took it. So, and not my church. I'm not. This is not a condemnation of them. Just a joke. But please get your own life insurance policy so that you can cover and these particular cases. These are unexpected situations. You never know. Well, let me just say this. You know you are. You just don't know when. And so just because you don't know when, you should have some life insurance. So yesterday, Monday, we had the fine pleasure of going to shop for the plot in which my daughter would be buried. I hope you all don't mind me sharing this with you, but if I didn't share it with you, I would go crazy. And again, you all have the option. Please turn it anytime you don't want to hear this stuff. But again, I'm telling you, you should have life insurance and you should have plans. You have all this together. We get there, and we're sitting there. We go into a frigid office, and you would think that they were preparing us for the burial because of how cold it was. I don't know. Maybe it's the staying power of the body. Yeah. But it was very cold in there, and I appreciate it. It was warm outside, but very cold inside. So all of a sudden, when you walk outside, you get that kind of rush over. You go, ooh, wow. Wow. So we go in and we sit down, and they didn't know that we were coming, even though an appointment was scheduled for us. So that looked kind of awkward. Not that many people actually drive into the cemetery to actually, shop around. I don't know. Maybe it's the new Walmart, the cemetery. Is that it? Is it the new Walmart now? Aisle 5, we're having a new sale on tombstones. Clean up on aisle 6. But so we go there, and Lincoln. Although there was a request for us to bury her at the Congressional Cemetery, okay, which, wow, you don't get that offer. Kind of like being offered to be buried at the Arlington Cemetery, even though you weren't military. You know what I'm saying? So that offer was there, but we turned it down because we wanted our daughter to be buried near her grandma. Yeah, it's a fun mark now. Not that her grandma's there, just the body, and apparently her casket, but we can't find the grave. Just saying, can't find the grave. And the explanation to us for not being able to find the grave is that stuff settled. It's kind of like a court case or whatever. You settle, and then you can't find all of the money because the lawyers took it. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, the ground apparently settled or whatever, and the plaque is somewhere beneath the surface of the moon. I don't know. We can't find it. They can't find it, but they're going to find it for us. I suggest you get working on that plaque overnight, if you know what I mean. Some crazy family members go there and can't see their mama. Just saying, might be a very long Saturday. I know Dave. Dave was in the chat room. He's telling me we were able to bury my father for just under $6,000 15 years ago. $6,000. $6 ahead of you, Jimmy. $6,000 for the casket. Okay, and the flowers, we're looking at them rounded up to 500. You know. Although I think with all the flowers being sent in, we don't need any more flowers. You take that thing right on off the list right there. But we're looking for a plot of land to bury our young daughter, and haven't seen the body yet. Amazingly, we haven't seen the body. We haven't seen our daughter since Wednesday. Okay? And mind you, a lot of people would say, well, gee, at least you were able to see her then or whatever. You know, she was taken to the Baltimore coroner's office. Yeah, because they heard that was the end place for people to go. They sent her to the Baltimore coroner's office. And there she lay in arrest until they would release her. They wouldn't release her on Saturday because, guess what? Government's closed. And they wouldn't release her on Sunday because, guess what? Government's closed. Notice how the government closes on the weekend and everything still goes well? But let there be budget cuts, and if you're going to close, all of a sudden, But anyway, love you, Cal. Love you, Cal. Glad to have you here. The most beautiful Canadian on radio, Cal. And Cal, I'm just trying to explain what I'm going through in terms of burying my daughter. Now, they took her from the shady streets of D.C. where she was shot and killed. They tried to revive her at PG Community or Hospital or whatever trauma unit, which was about from there, about a good 10, 12-minute drive from there. And then she died. They take her body to Baltimore, which is a good 60-minute drive from where PG Hospital is. The coroner keeps her. We haven't seen her. They sign off on her coming home today. And apparently we received a message from Latney Funeral Home that they have recovered the body and they have brought her home. I think that's absolutely wonderful because we haven't seen the body in about a week. She's a cold case now. I just want to let you know that you need to be prepared for this kind of stuff. So, lo and behold, okay, my wife and I, diligent lovers of our daughter, had to find a place. We turned down congressional. No, we don't want to bury her near Marion Barry and the like. She wasn't corrupted as a child. We don't want her to be corrupted in the grave. Just saying. So we chose Lincoln Cemetery out in Suitland, and we just want to let the press know, please, the interment is completely private. We do not want any non-family members to be present. We don't want to have to chase you away. It could get ugly. I'm just warning you. And so we're sitting in the office. It's cold. It's frigid. My daughter with me. We are looking through the little the little tombstones that you could choose from. Now, there are premium tombstones, and there are standard tombstones. There are custom tombstones, and then there are the bargain basement tombstones. You know, the ones that are going to break apart the minute you close your car door. That kind of thing. You slam your door, and all of a sudden, it's gone. It's like the little plaque, or actually, I think it's like the little cross that they nail into the ground just to let you know that something's down there. So we're looking, and with my wife, she's been holding up. I'm very proud of her. She's been holding up the whole time. She says, I want her to be buried next to my mother. Well, she has to go find the papers which show where her mother is. So it takes a bit. You would think that they wouldn't have to do such research. You know, alphabetical name, place, kind of. No, okay. So we find the place, the area where Grandmama is buried. Hey, Dan, love you, man. Glad that you're here. And that's great. We got it on paper, and she did a little bit more research, got a little print out there. We find that there are 3 graves available. 3 graves. Listen. 3 graves. Today, and today only. We got 3 graves available. I thought she was going to throw in an athletic bag or something and a T-shirt for the gym. I just felt that way. I don't know about you. That's the way I felt. So we're okay. We're pleased. There are graves near Grandma, even though you can't find Grandma because the tombstone has sunk into the ground. Got to pull that thing up. So there we are. We are looking. There are 3 graves. You can pick grave 11, 12, or 13. So I just thought, I don't want to pick 13 because, not that I am into luck or anything, but I just don't want to pick 13. However, 13 happened to be the best spot in town because it's right beneath a tree that's been there for over 100 years. Very beautiful oak tree. Love it. Nice tree. And so we decide, that's where we want our baby to be buried. And so she begins working on the paperwork. Now, mind you, the paperwork at Latney's funeral home was basically about 5 to 6 pages. Basically demographic stuff, that, date of birth, where she lived, that kind of thing. When you looked at the plot, okay, and the paperwork for the plot, you were actually thinking that you were getting a deed to a property. And guess what we found out? Yes, we're getting a deed to a piece of property. Yes, the plot belongs to my wife now. Isn't that wonderful? That's absolutely beautiful. I just want her to know that everything that's bought during the course of marriage belongs to us anyway. So just in case you want to go before the courts and really show your Julius Maximus and ask for the grave, Anyway. Okay, so they're showing us, we've decided on the plot. Now the tombstone. Now you got the choice between the premium tombstone. Now, do I look like, if you've seen pictures of me, do I look like I can afford the premium vault? Do I look like the kind of man that's just going to lay out a cool 50G so that my daughter's last name will be plastered across the front of it, never to be used again? Oh, how great she art. Heck no! I don't have that kind of... Why are you showing me the vault? I don't have that kind of money, man. Put that away. So she puts that away. And then she breaks out the value-oriented one. Premium vault is down payment on the house in Maryland. That's what I'm talking about, Dave. You're talking 50K. What are you talking about? Who's going to build a house for dead people? I don't know. Why are you doing this to me? So we decide that maybe that's not the best option. They show us some other tombstones. And as we are looking at it, and apparently this is the kind of cement that must have come from God's hand directly because it's very expensive tombstone, okay? The gosh darn thing costs about $6,000 for the tombstone. You know what I'm saying? But then we found out that there is a $200 discount because we're going to pay cash. Isn't that wonderful? Wow, $200. I can put my kids through school now. Oh, golly gee. All right, so the tombstone is going to come with some angels over the top of it or whatever, and they're going to be holding roses, and my baby will be beneath the tombstone, so that whenever someone comes by 100 years later and reads it, they will see Shanice Avia Milton, the Lamb slain, and then the date of birth and date of death. So mind you, they're putting all that together. They'll have it finished by Thursday. It'll be carved out. It says the tombstone must have been carved from the Nick. Oh, they must have really carved that bad boy right out of the limestone of Arizona or something. I don't know, but there it is. It's being carved even as we speak in preparation for the funeral. So then there is the deed for the property per se, for that piece of plot of land. So, and then they throw in an administration. How come you're charging me $400 for filling out those papers right there? I see you doing it. Why are you charging me for that? Oh, okay. So apparently I have to pay $400 for them to fill out the paperwork in front of me. You know what? Cut it in half and I'll fill in half of it myself. You do the rest. You know what I'm saying? But no, they don't want to do it that way. So we look at that, and now we have the tombstone all lined up. We have our casket. We have our plot of land. There is a digging fee. I kid you not, man. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why don't you just add a methane or carbon gas tax along with it? You know what I'm saying? Just keep adding stuff here. So we're sitting there, and the thing jumped from $6,000 to $10,983 for a plot of land where I'm going to bury my baby, and a casket that costs $6,000. Nearly $20,000 for a burial, and we're not through yet. The Great Diggers of Union, I guess they are. That's a dang good union to belong to, the way they make that money. We asked for a flag. And I love this woman because she's the type of woman that will find a way, get out of her way to do something. She's going to find a way, and I appreciate her, love her. We asked for a flag. What harm is there in asking for the U.S. flag? No, my baby did not serve in the military, but is that a requirement to have a U.S. flag? Most of the people coming to the service or to the funeral or to the wake or whatever have never seen a U.S. flag. They don't understand the pledge. Do you understand why I wanted a U.S. flag over my baby's coffin? Because my baby loved my show. I don't know if she listened to it a lot or whatever, but she loved and respected Daddy was on the air, and she would make me lemonade for the early morning ride, okay? Why not an American flag draped over her coffin? I don't think that's really a harsh thing to ask, okay? But it seemed like it would be one of the most hard tasks. First and foremost, in the inner city, where do you get a flag from? where do you get the American flag? Do they print those anymore? I saw her in school once. So apparently they're going to look for a flag for my baby so that we can put it over the coffin and maybe they can fold it and give it to us. Yeah, she loved her country. You would think people that love their country wouldn't mind the flag being over them. You know what I'm saying? She loved God and she loved country. God and country, don't they go together? But not in the inner city. So apparently that's it. So last night we were visited by the mayor who did not know that my daughter's case had gone cold. It was a cold case. As cold as the salami that's on a sub. And cold as the cut on the sub. I'm going to use that joke. And so she comes by and she's offering us our condolences and things like that. And that's wonderful. That's beautiful. One of the speakers that was supposed to be is scheduled to speak is Cora Masters Berry, the wife of Marion Berry. She's going to speak at the funeral. And because in this city, 90% of the people are liberal, you probably work for a liberal, and they have good feelings towards you. Those conservatives are so, discombobulated, but, they're great to work for. They really like to work. So, where we are at this particular point, she never showed up this evening or earlier this afternoon to see us, but apparently she will speak. We don't need to see her. Ralph Chittums will be speaking there. A pastor from Syracuse saw her picture in the Syracuse paper, and he called us. He will come down. He will be speaking there. And several other people will be speaking. Dr. Melville wrote an editorial in today's Washington Post. If you see the Washington Post editorial section, you will see Dr. Julia Melville. She wrote a piece about Shanice. She, like Mike Loopy. I'll say it on my show. I don't have a problem saying it on my show. Don't look offended. I can say what I want on my show. It's what I feel. People don't have to feel the way I feel. But I think she's loopy. Anytime you blame the gun or the bullet for the death of a child, you're loopy. Unless the bullet got up off the subway, took the W4 and said, hey, I'm across the street and shoot her, then apparently it's not the gun or the bullet that killed her. It was the human being holding the gun and also the human being that was holding her. Those are the killers. I don't see at the penitentiary lines of 45s and 38s and Magnums and all types just sitting behind the bar saying they got the wrong bullet. I'm going to get out of here soon. I'm going to get that itch. You don't see that. You see criminals, and criminals need to go to jail. So we got the program lined up, my wife and I working together. And, of course, you are hit. I just want to make certain that you are aware that people treat funerals and weddings as if it is the American Idol. I know some of you all might be slightly disturbed by the way I'm talking about this, but feel me on this. I am in church. It is time to depart. They offer us greetings, and people come up to you and hug you, and they want to tell you how much they love you. And Mary, I love you. Thank you so much for sending that card to us. We really feel your love. They want to give you cards and love you and hug on you, and that's cool. I appreciate that. I really do. But when you come up on me and you hug me and then you whisper to me, listen, I can sing a solo for you, I kind of get the feeling that something's wrong with this picture. Is this really about loving up on us and grieving with us and feeling the way we feel? Or is this your moment? Do you understand that Channel 4 and Channel 5 and Channel 7 and 8 and all the others will be at the funeral, and this is showtime at the Apollo today? No, this is not showtime. I don't want to see your Broadway presentation of anything. I don't want to hear you singing. I can only imagine as if you were an opera. I don't want to hear that at my daughter's funeral, okay? All right, I love you, but I don't want. It's a funeral, not an audition. Thank you, Dave. Oh my God, come on. So, the church is getting itself together. I really love them. I love all of the groups of people that will be coming together to praise God at this celebration. My pastors will be officiating and doing the eulogy. I really appreciate that. Dennis W. Wiley, who was the instrument that Satan used to push for same-sex marriage in District of Columbia will be giving the prayer of comfort. If I don't say it here, I'll say it there. And so, there we go. What you going to do, pull out? You going to pull out my daughter's funeral? Go ahead. Take your elsewhere. I can say this, my wife isn't listening tonight, so I can say what I want to say. And if you all tell her, I will refute the fact that I said any of this, even though you got it on tape. I'll be the Guinness Bastard of recording. I don't know what you're talking about. It didn't happen here. It could have been a black person. So tomorrow we are going to work on carrying out the final functions and getting things paid for. And thank you, Dave. We got your back, Ken. I didn't hear nothing. Thank you. You got to be careful now, because the way people treat you, remember now, the way you get treated by other people, you're not supposed to treat them the same way. You're supposed to treat them better than the way they treat you. And that's in Luke chapter 6, 27 and 28, for all of you who are questioning my theological understanding and concepts. If you want, you can read the rest of the scriptures that follow that. But we're supposed to treat each other better. And it's amazing how life works. My daughter's death brought the best man at my wedding back and to our family. And he will be doing the This Is Your Life video type thing or whatever, with pictures and stuff. And I thank him for doing that, and I do wish them well. There's some things that you need to do to overcome what you feel while you're going through the storm of a burial. Okay? We have to do an interview tomorrow, and you can listen in if you wish. It is WS Radio. In fact, we will be on at 10 a.m., okay, in the morning, 10 a.m. in the morning. That's early, man. And so that's Cynthia Dillon show. We will be on from 10 to 11. She will be talking with us about what we're going through, and I really appreciate that, because the more people hear from us, the more they get involved, the more they're willing to overcome, the more that they're willing to put beside them the despair that comes with government and go to the hope that comes with Jesus, and close cases. We will be looking into closing cases in the District of Columbia as quickly as possible. And I want to thank Sarah Stein again, Dr. Sarah Stein, who will be working with me on closing my daughter's case. We're going to do this. After the funeral, we're going to do this. Trust me. Hey, so be it. You know what I'm saying? So be it. You close the case, you say it's cold. Nothing but time. Thank you, Dave. She was a great guest. And I thank her and also Andy Martin tonight. He came even at the last minute, but he had something to talk about, so I'm glad God brought us two together for that particular purpose. So we will be doing that particular interview. We will go to a special event in Ward 8, talk about economics in Ward 8. Then there is a meeting that we have to go to, paying for the crap. And finally, doing this show. I think I have to rearrange the schedule for tomorrow. I think we're going to have to be later on in the day to make the payment on that thing. I work with Jay out in State Park. Thank you, Dave. Dave says he'll try to listen. Kel says thank you. So you all can listen to that particular interview. Then locally, hopefully on Thursday, we will be interviewed. Oh, yeah, there is a prayer vigil that we have been invited to tomorrow night They will honor Shanice. Andrew Lightman, Capital Community News, we want to thank you so much for all that you've done for our family. And, well, actually, you've done it for Shanice, but we've benefited. We want to thank you for that. You're destroying your bathroom, dude. You know, if you actually eat pork and beans, you could do that yourself. So, I want to thank everybody in terms of that. And apparently on Thursday, 102.3 Magic, 95 something or the other station wants to interview us. And and quite frankly, we're looking forward to that because they reach a population of young people who may know something, see something, but don't think it's sexy to say something. But booty call. I'm just telling you, you got to do what you got to do because, quite frankly, you might be next, and you might want me if I ever saw anything to say something, just to bring closure to your parents' life. And later on Thursday, we will see the body. It will be the first time that we've seen her in over a week. And then Friday, we have a very special wake. We're encouraging everybody in the public to come to it. It's at 6 p.m. It will last until 9, so that way we're giving people enough time. If you're stuck in traffic on 295 or 495 or 395, you'll be able to still make it. You'll still be able to see her. And then we will be able to close the casket. And then the next morning, should God allow us to see, we will have breakfast together. We will pray together. And then we will travel to Living Word Church, 4101 Martha King Jr. Avenue, Southwest Washington, D.C., 20032. Anybody who wants to send flowers, please send it there. Don't send them to my house. I have too much stuff already. We got flowers, we got food, too much food. But I'm thankful. I'm grateful. Don't take this for anything other than me just being very centered right now. And so there will be a viewing from 10 to 11. From 11 to about 1 o'clock, we will have the funeral. My expectation is that we will get out of there because they charge us by the yang and the yin funeral home, and we deliver the body. We say goodbye, and we come back for the repast. After that, my wife and I will probably take a couple of days just to get away, to recoup and recover. Just in case any of you all have to go through this, I wanted this to be a diary journal for you. I know that you're probably used to hearing Janice Hall, the J. Hall World Report at 10. I really didn't expect to get all into this with you, but I wanted to share it with you. You know, yesterday, I think they closed one of those open cases in Michigan. I don't know. I got to go back and check the count. But the show that we did with Sarah Stein has been welcomed and received across the nation. There are a lot of cold cases in America that are open, and they just need a couple of new eyes to take a look at them. I'm encouraging everyone to go to the center. I want you to go to the center with Sarah Stein. and that is the Center for the Resolution of Unresolved Crimes. The case files seem to add up daily. The closed seem to always be outnumbered by the open. And I know for a fact that none of these people, no matter what they were doing at the time that they were killed, none of these people deserve to be an open case. I don't mean to be stuck on one issue. You know that I can chew gum and think at the same time. At least I've been practicing. Screwed up a couple of times, fell down once, needed a little Band-Aid. Nobody was there, so I put it on myself. But I am learning to chew gum and walk at the same time. And as such, I want you all to know that we will talk about political issues, we will talk about economic issues, and this show is not going to change because of that. But God has added another opportunity for us. And let me let my enemy know what we're going to do ahead of time so that they are even more awed when it's done, despite their provocation to the king. There are those who have been so moved over the past few days of our cry and call for a spiritual reformation. Remember now, behind every great political reformation, it was preceded by a spiritual reformation. Look it up. Every great political reformation was preceded by a spiritual reformation. Spiritual reformation touched the heart of two issues that government requires: character and morals. Character and morals. Tomorrow I'll be playing a clip by Dave that talks about morals and character. But you have politicians right now who are reeling because there is a conservative, like the one you're listening to, on the airwaves, hot and heavy, telling people that it's not the gun that killed my baby, it's not the bullet that killed my baby, it was two black men that killed my baby. If they were white, I would have said they were white. They just perchance happened to be two black men. They say teens or whatever, but the bottom line is they're two black men. And now, people in the neighborhood are beginning to see how loopy liberals and Democrats really are. Because no matter how you explain it, it doesn't make sense the way they say it. What does make sense is that the war on women is happening in urban America. It happens when people turn on the radio and they hear people being called itches and hoes. That's somebody's mama. In fact, it may be your baby's mama. But she's an itch and a hoe, which makes her less of a human being. It actually makes her property. And as such, I guess you could use property as a shield. If you had a Roman shield, you would have used it to perchance keep the bullets away from your body, which was made of flesh. Steel seems to do a very good job. It has to be a very penetrable force to cause it to go through solid steel as a shield. But if you have a fleshy person in front of you, they can absorb the bullet so it does not go to you. That's the war on women. You chose a woman to stand in front of you. Is that not war on women? Is that not? And I bet you if we look it up, he was probably a person raised in a single-family home, probably a liberal, and probably a black woman who believed in Obama. I'm just saying some of these are curiosities and coincidences. I'm not going to be politically correct as I talk to you while I go through this. If I were, that would be false against who I am. The other thing I want you to know about my crime is that the police have done a great job, as much as they can do. But when you have 30 cold cases laying out there and people being killed daily in your presence, it doesn't give you a lot of time to do the footwork necessary to close a case. Extra eyes might be needed. And I don't mind getting them. Here's the last thing I want to talk with you about. On the whole idea of character and morals. Politicians right now are reeling in urban America. And the one group that you would think would be there to begin fighting that good fight would be the GOP. Don't you think? If you knew that urban Americans were becoming more fractured than ever, if you knew that black liberals showed up at a conservative event, yeah, loving Jesus is a very conservative thing. It means that you don't put you first. That's very liberal. They came to a prayer vigil where they put God first. And we prayed first. And we blamed ourselves, at least I blame myself, for the issues of the day. It seems the lack of character and the lack of morals have put us in a position where either A, we are beggars to those that are unruly, or B, virtually zombies and to a passive approach to dealing with it. This is that moment that you all conservatives have been asking for since 2008. African Americans, though they protest it, are alive and awakened because they know that it's not white police officers that are on this tangent to kill black people. They know that the modern baby, the black baby, is more likely to have died in the womb of a black woman than in the slave boats of the slave owners. They know that the absence of the father in the home being replaced by government security, whether it be housing, affordable housing. I love the term affordable housing because it's really a relative term. Affordable is really, really whatever you think it is, and it doesn't have to actually exist. Individuals in urban America are waking up and they're saying, what we've been doing for 50 years has got us here. The bankruptcy of Detroit. Babies dying in the streets. 10 a night in Chicago. Unemployment of young people at 50%, while there's a cry to raise wages to $15, quote, a livable wage. However, the people that push the livable wage never want to live on that. America, or at least let me put it this way, Republicans, you have been talking about your opportunity to enter back into the city. But unfortunately, you will be rejected. And you will be rejected not necessarily by the Democrats. You'll be rejected by conservatives like me. And here's the reason. You're willing to bow down to GLAAD rather than to bow down to Jesus. You're willing to take a buck or two to change laws that you know go against the standard of the GOP history. You try to explain it off as these are modern times. We need to get with the program. It's amazing how the creator of all time is no longer Ghost for today. So here it is. For those of you who happen to be urban Americans, you have a choice in 2016. You have the choice of doing the same thing over again and getting the same result. Or you can begin with a spiritual renewal that you've never seen before. The preachers put down the gospel of the progressive agenda and pick up the gospel of Jesus Christ and begin preaching it. Now let me explain to you something very, very, very abruptly here. Number one, it ain't going to be easy. You see, preachers like journalists are lazy. They would love someone to give them the 3 points, the how are we going to get the job, how are we going to get the bills paid kind of sermon. They don't like to do a lot of research. They think they already did it when they went to seminary. You're going to have to find yourself a Bible-believing church and a church that's willing to go back and look at the apostolic design of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That you go back to God, you don't go back to sin. Number two, here's the second thing. You're going to have to make up in your mind, urban America, if you really want to be ruled as a slave or to rule as a liberator. To be ruled as a slave, you will continue along the progressive agenda. You will see your babies die and you will do nothing. That's what slaves do. Slaves watch who they are, what they are, and whom God has given them die so that they might live. Or you can really do something to create liberty cities of America, making certain that life, liberty, and the pursuit of joy are the primary factors by which sovereignty is instituted and government is ruled. You can begin putting the Bible first in everything that you say, think, and do. It ain't going to be easy. It's going to be real hard at first. You're going to lose a lot of people, and you're going to lose some time and money. But guess what, preacher? It will be well with you. You would do extremely better than you even asked or thought. And finally, you will be able to liberate your people from the pains of death and the certainty of slavery. Just wanted to be real with you while you're still listening. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for tuning in tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show and listening to how I'm going through. Tomorrow night, I don't know how all these things are working out, but God's going to bring on somebody that's going to give us something, a revelation, so that we will be able to decide and do and live according to His will. I don't know how, but He does it every single night. America, God has blessed us. Now, America, go bless God. We'll be back tomorrow night.
Can I get a hallelujah? Well, I grew up back in the sticks. I was raised on cornbread and scripture, and I praise God for teaching me wrong from right. I had a wild streak, 3 counties wide, the devil had me.
scared and excited. It was the hand of God that kept me out of the hands of the Lord. Ooh, yeah. Mama brought the Bible, Daddy rung the bell. Mama set the table, Daddy rung the bell. The preacher did his best to show me the light, but Daddy was the one that kept me walking the line. Mama sang the gospel, Daddy drove it home. Mama was an angel, Daddy was the brimstone. One foot in heaven, one foot in hell. I found religion between the Bible and the bells. I guess it rings true what the good book says, what you learn young. But never forget that his bells live. Quite an impression on me. Ooh, yeah. I can still hear Mama's voice in the choir. She set the whole damn church on fire, and it still burns in the deepest part of me. Now listen here. Well, Mama on the Bible, Daddy on the bell. Mama set the table, Daddy rung the bell. The preacher did his best to show me the light, but Daddy was the one that kept me walking the line. Mama sang the gospel, Daddy drove it home. Mama was an angel, Daddy was the brimstone. One foot in heaven, one foot in hell. I found religion between the Bible and the bell. Mama was an angel, Daddy was the brimstone. One foot in heaven, one foot in hell. I found religion between the Bible and the bell. One foot in heaven, one foot in hell. I found religion between the Bible and the bell.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.